Yo,
Yo,
how's it
what's up?
going?
How are you doing?
Pretty good. Um, just like looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah, yeah. I assume you've just been working on your game this week mostly?
Yeah, just like game stuff, and I just mostly like other people are free on the weekend.
Yeah, oh, that
I'm
makes sense then.
I'm kind of doing the
That
same
makes sense.
thing every day, but
Yeah, yeah. I
um,
don't know why I feel particularly nervous about this list. I don't know. Strange feeling.
I do too. It's been a while since I've done uh, puff. Wait, are you doing puff stuff or?
So in that volume's Acolyte, actually, I played Marth, Puff, and Fox. So
Okay.
any, yeah. And the only game I played is Puff. I won, but it's it's weird. I mentioned that I felt like a lot of more of what I wanted to talk about was related to mental. Uh, and like it's weird because that's my second time playing against the Acklone tournament, and the first time I played against him, I played so bad that I just stayed Fox, even though I really did want to try Puff on Dreamland.
Mm-hmm.
But like I couldn't. It's so hard, especially because for some reason all the tournaments I go to have such bad schedules. Like I did doubles at the tournament where I played Aklo, and me and my teammate won. And because of that, I had just been playing Melee for like 8 hours before I
Oh
played
yeah, that'll
Aklo.
always happen. If you enter doubles, you gotta like
That is the last time. I swear to God, that's the last time I played doubles. I swear, like
like doubles is
legitimately.
only hype scheduling wise if you go like 3-2. If you go 3-2, you're like, oh, we're done just in time. Get a meal. Time for singles. And if you win, they're like, we're gonna squeeze in your doubles matches somewhere in the top 16. You know, you're like,
That is
dude,
terrible.
like, no, they do that every time.
That's so nightmarish. Oh my God.
It's just hard to
It's
like run both at the same time, you know.
it's legitimately so terrible. Like, oh my God. And I literally had to watch Aklo like all before like we played. Like he had to warm up with his teammate. He like got to go out and get food and stuff, and it's just like I was just playing the whole time. And it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. And then we got pushed to like this. We didn't just play on the side stream. We played on the side stream. It's like, okay, well, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It just literally just felt so stupid. Uh, but yeah, like,
Yeah,
and
it's just
also
how they always are. Like I feel like I very rarely can like talk about a major and not be like, yeah, if I had only had time to like warm up here, this happened. Like it's rough, but the schedule will just always mess you up. Like
yeah,
every
yeah. It
major
feels like
forever, there it's never like built around. It's just built around like the majority of attendees and never like helping anyone in particular. Especially if you do pretty well, the schedules are always like, it's only 12 hours. Just play the game.
yeah, yeah. No, that. Oh my God, that sucks so much.
That's,
Like,
I think that's honestly one of my biggest problems with majors is like the scheduling and like also like just like the multiple days sleeping in hotel rooms and like sometimes the games go late, sometimes you got to get up early, and
yeah.
it's a tough issue. But I think we all just have to find our own ways to deal with it. I'm trying to like find my own ways to deal with it too.
Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. 'Cause I've been thinking about that a lot, and I feel like I didn't come up with much more other than don't do doubles, even if like the money's nice. The odd chance you get a good placing in it,
Mm-hmm.
it just feels like I've just been in such a bad mental state since the set because it was just like it just felt so pressing. And then I played two Saint and losers, and two Saint just plays completely different from Dawson, so it was just like
Mm-hmm.
an immediate loss. And like because I won game one super convincingly against two Saint, and then he just started camping really hard. I was like, oh okay.
Mm-hmm.
So just terrible tournament all around. Like, literally one of the worst days ever. Uh,
Sounds
and
frustrating.
also I just spent the whole day also just thinking about how much I hate playing on box too. Like
Yeah, like you're trying to switch
legitimately the
back.
whole
You're
day.
just like, what am I
Yeah.
doing?
Like legitimately I go to tournaments on box, and even though like cuz like I've literally won in like the past month like $400 just from entering tournaments, and
Mm-hmm.
like
That's sick.
le- legitimately just even like playing on box doesn't even feel worth it for that money.
Mm-hmm.
It just legitimately is the worst. it's so blatant cheating in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've literally never also been even remotely successful in anything else too. And like the only difference is that you're just allowed to openly cheat in Melee. There's literally just no problem with it. Like people will in the community who know nothing about the game will just come to your defense and be like, "Oh, but you're hurting my feelings."
No, I definitely respect that. Like, you switched to box, got good at it. We're like, what am I doing here? It's like it's like the wobblers who like realized they were wobbling, and they're like, what am I doing? Like, I should be
Yeah,
doing
exactly. Like
pursuing like the competition that I'm looking for instead of getting like an asterisk.
yeah, exactly. It's like I want to. Like, I truly love the game. I think that's why I spend so much time not just playing Fox, or well, I'll be honest, not playing Puff because like I actually like love playing the game, and like that's why when I compete, I love using four characters. It's like these characters, like Sheik is so sick, Fox is so sick,
Mm-hmm.
Martha. Like ever since Zane became like one of the best players, I just feel like Martha is just like so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I feel like that's like ruined by box in some way. Like legitimately feels like it ruins like the love of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because I've played against box players on controller and it's just like it's literally ridiculous. It's so absurd.
Mm-hmm. I
And then
agree.
I still lose. And then I still lose. And I'm just like, okay, I must be like ultra terrible. Like I still lost to Aklo, even though I had like I had two free game wins, like
Mm-hmm.
free character switches. A counter pick advantage, so he couldn't go Link on FD. 'Cause I would have gone Sheik, and it was just like I still lost. And it's just like it literally feels like hard to look at yourself in the mirror when like that's like the reality.
Yeah, like you at least gotta try in the way that you want to,
Yeah,
regardless of the result.
yeah, exactly. It feels like you need to be in order to have consistent like I guess a consistent feedback loop with a game that's healthy. I feel like you have to play in a way that's like morally upstanding. But this is the thing: is there are people that don't do that. Like there are people that play Puff in camp,
They just have
and
different
it's
morals. It's
yeah.
hard
See,
to
that's what
accept it.
Salami told me
It's
too.
hard
I
to
talked to
accept
Salami about
it.
that.
I don't like to think about it.
Yeah, see, and it's like, but I feel it's weird though because I feel so happy when I win that it feels like I should feel that way, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Because like nothing makes me happier than like taking sets off people in melee. But
Mm-hmm.
I still don't do like I'm not playing Puff and Ices. Like I play Puff and I hard run it down every game. Like when I play
Mm-hmm.
Puff, I literally just spam red setups,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like that's not really conducive to winning. Like Sugar, it's like fine. It's like you can win that in that way, but it's hard. It's not easy.
I think
It,
that there's always a balance between playing the way you want and then playing to win. And I
but
think
how do you even
everybody
find
kind of
that?
finds their own balance, and it's totally fine to feel that way.
Mm, have you ever like thought about that yourself,
Well,
like in
yeah,
your own
no, no,
experience?
definitely. I mean, like, I think everybody has felt that way. Like everybody who's like one of like, oh, I should have just like I'm sure there's times when Zane lost where it felt like, oh, I should have just like timed out H box or something in that position. Like I could have camped for another like 2 minutes or whatever. And I mean, I guess with Zane is a little different because I feel like he's more on the side of doing whatever it takes to like beat the players. But
Oh, you think so?
yeah, I mean, I feel like you can see it in like the types of games that people are like willing to play. Not all the time, but like I think Mango goes more on the side of trying to push the style he wants, and that's why sometimes when he's going against HBox and he can tell that HBox is going to force him to play the way he doesn't want to, that he doesn't want to
Uh-huh.
do it, and so he'll just kind of like give up or whatever. And so I was just saying that I think Zane is more on the end that like he wants to play a certain way, but if winning requires this other way, he will just do that way every time. That's what I was saying. He's
Interesting.
not. I don't think he's like the best example because he'll definitely do whatever it takes to win the matchup eventually.
Yeah. Okay, wow, that's a really interesting thought. Because I feel like for me, then somewhere I would rather kind of stray towards the side of Zane, where it's like I'm willing to like it's not my first option, but if I have to play in like a almost pseudo degenerate way, like I have to be willing to, because almost because like motivated just by the fact that I get so upset when I lose that
Mm-hmm.
I feel like losing because like two Saint just like it was so
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
ridiculous.
that's the way that most top players go who have like a style they really want to be playing. Like Cody just wants to like spam buttons and turn off his brain and stuff, but
Oh
like
my gosh, that's
but
so
when he
funny.
plays against a campy Puff, he just sits there dash dancing because like he really really doesn't want to lose, you know.
That makes sense. That makes sense. It's funny 'cause I've actually been trying to watch a lot of Cody VODs recently, and I swear my mouth literally opens when like I see him just push the dumbest situation and he just gets the hit. Like I tried to do analysis of him versus Peach, and somehow he would just always dash into Peach and just win. And it's just like so insane how like he's just willing to push so much. Like how good he is, I guess, at pushing buttons
Yeah,
is
he
like
just he
wild.
knows what he's good at. He wants to play that way, and he can make it work. It's pretty crazy, to be honest.
It is just so
Requires a level of focus on the game,
yeah,
and like a level of not focusing on other things. It's obviously still sick though, but it
interesting.
definitely requires like to basically to be that far ahead of anyone in any particular area and like be able to push it requires you to like put a lot of like a lot of people are putting time and effort into tech skill and they don't look like Cody. A lot of
Yeah.
people are putting a
Mhm.
lot of hours a day into tech skill and they don't look like Cody.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, yeah, that's an interesting thought to think about actually. It's weird because I don't know, I just feel like I have this really bad insecurity about the game where I feel like I just know nothing at all times. Like legitimate like I don't know how to get better. I don't know how I get the wins that I get. I like because thinking about switching a controller,
Interesting.
it's like I don't really know what to do to like switch the controller because it just like I play unranked and like people get so happy when they take games off me and they just leave and it's just like oh like okay like
Mm-hmm.
I would sit there with that person and play them for like an hour or 2 hours and they just leave after one when they beat me. It's just like okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if I'm playing on box, like these are people that will like DM me to play and be like, please play me. And like I play them on controller and they're just like, yeah, no, I'm gonna find someone else. Like, okay. I just don't know how to rationalize that at all. It just feels so bad.
Hmm. Because I mean, I definitely deal with that too, right? Like I feel like 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 I've literally like played Sheik against Fox before
Uh-huh.
unranked and just been like I'm messing with my Sheik today and like training and like people will be like yeah my friend DM me on like Discord and they were getting all hyped that they beat you on ranked and it's like yeah that just happens like all the time like anytime you like lose like people are gonna get their like cheap kicks off of anything and you can either like structure a lot of your behavior around like not letting them get their cheap kicks or you can just enjoy yourself and do what you want to do.
Oh, I've definitely only done the former albums.
Yeah, and I feel you like I think I've done a lot of that too and I think that there's like an element of that to like competition but I think you have to make a line between like when you're competing and when you're doing what you want. Like if you are in a tournament and that you really care about, then yeah. But if you're just like practicing online or whatever, somebody being like, "Yes, I finally did it. I always knew I could take a game" or whatever is like that's on them. Like you
Yeah.
need to be able to like remove the like that's on me type of thing or that like it's kind of like a parasocial like influencer thing, where like somebody is like thinking like about this influencer all the time or whatever. That's their
Mhm.
problem, not the influencer's problem.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that
it's
makes a
it's
lot of
like
sense.
they're projecting their feelings of like the value in the world and what they get out of playing the game and all that onto you, and you need to just do your own thing and not like your brain will do the thing like when you lose and it'll simulate them being like yes yes and then you're like all right I'm gonna like have a better day than them. And like that's like a better way to like deal with that of like I'm gonna like spend time doing my thing and like you know they're gonna do their thing and it's fine but you just gotta focus on yourself in those situations I think
I see. Interesting.
because like I deal with that like every time like
Yeah, and I know you've
and
worked with like a lot of
even
characters.
when you compete I think that like there's like an element to it that like requires a lot of getting over. I think like you can just kind of use it as like future motivation. You just have to not get caught up too much in it. Like I'm switching to Z Jump right now, and
Yeah.
I've been working mostly on my Fox Tech skill. My Sheik and my Falco are like really really weak right now because I haven't like
Hmm.
practiced them with Z Jump. But I decided to go Sheik against Aura anyway because like last time we played online before the Z Jump switch, I was just bopping him with Sheik Peach,
Uh-huh.
and my Sheik just like couldn't move at all, and I should have definitely switched off Sheik after game one, but I kind of like stubbornly like held on to it.
Yeah.
And then I was down 2-0, and I switched to Fox, and I haven't played the Peach matchup with Fox in like a couple
Oh
years.
no.
And I
Yeah.
just kind of like almost made it work, and then I missed one L cancel game 5 and got like shield grabbed, and he like chain grabbed me to death, and he did this huge pop off, and he came
No
and he
way.
and I was fine with it. And then he came up to me at the after party, and he's like, "I just want to let you know that like cheesing that one game off you on FD was like the best moment of my entire like career, like 12 years or something. Like that was it. Like that was the peak moment. Like made my life." And it's like the thing you gotta realize is that like that just means that like they think you're better than them.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like, because like, dude, that just happens every day. Every day that I have ever lost, somebody's is like their life is made. It's like think about when you get as good as like Mango, and somebody's like, "Yes, like I beat Mango. That's everything. Like I can die happy." It just means that they think they're like a lower class of person, like in the game. Like they just have Mango on this faraway mountain that's like above them or whatever, and so like that's just kind of on them mentally. You just gotta like push that out of the way and focus on like your own stuff.
Yeah,
It's kind of
that makes
like
a lot of
it's kind of
sense.
like if you like lift like 300 pounds every day and some other person lifts like 50 pounds, and then like one day is like you kind of like hurt your shoulder and you like try to lift and you just can't, so you lift like 10 pounds, and then they lift their 50 and they're like, my whole life I've like tried to show up and be stronger than you, and today is my day. And
Yeah.
like you kind of just have to like be like, okay. And like no disrespect to Aura, I feel like that whenever anybody talks like that I think I'm like
Oh yeah.
better than
Yeah.
who I lose
Mhm.
to. And it's just something you gotta like get better at dealing with over time, in my opinion. Like it'll happen in a lot of contexts, and especially in contexts like online practice where it doesn't matter, or like I feel it every time I add a new character, where every time I play a new character, all the same people don't want to play me, and they're like, "Can't you just go Fox, or can't you just go Falco?" It's like
Yeah.
it's funny because for a long time when I switched to Falco, everybody's like, "Can't you just play Fox? I don't want to play your stupid bad Falco." And then like a year later, they're like, "Dude, why are you playing your Fox against me? You know why I'm here."
That's
Like bring
so
the Falco
insane.
out, and it's just like yeah, like every time I switch to a new character, I get like a big list of people who are like, "You're not beating me with that character." And it's just like it's just fun to like run through them the next time. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's what it is like switching to GameCube controller. Like I think you switch to GameCube controller and everybody's like, "Yes, I beat that person who's better than me at the game." Yes, but it's not like real, and you know it, and you can just like prestige win through. Like, it's just kind of like you get like an extra easy what's the word? Like you get like a victory lap. You're like, "I already know how to beat these people." So like it kind of makes it like extra easy to like overcome them again in your new like state. Even just like learning
I
Z
see.
jump, I really like that feeling of like, "Oh, now I'm worse than you guys." And they're like, "Yes, finally, he's worse than me." And then I just like grind for a bit,
Interesting.
and I'm like, "What happened?"
Yeah.
And I think you just have to find the fun in that. That's my opinion.
I see. Okay, that actually breeded two questions that I wanted to ask. The first question I wanted to ask was, I think the thing about switching to GameCube controller, it feels really scary to me, and I know this is probably just like a kind of a made up problem, but is like you brought up that example of like one person lifts 300 pounds, the other person lifts 50 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
is like legitimately switching from like Fox to Puff felt like going down to like 200 pounds, like 300 pounds to 200 pounds, but switching to GameCube controller legitimately feels like going to like lifting like 20 pounds from 300
Yeah.
pounds. Like that's how insane it feels.
I believe that. I mean, it's totally different, like muscle memory and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Do you think that like I guess do you have like any advice I guess just for getting over like that? Because like every time I play on GameCube controller, it feels so oppressive. Like
yeah,
it's
you just
so
do it.
scary.
It's the only way. It's how I switch every character. It's how I switch my grip. It's how you got to do it. You just gotta like just like put the box away and pick up the GameCube controller and be like,
Uh-huh.
this is my life now.
This is my life now.
That's the only way. You just have to change anything like that is a habit like that. You just switch, and you're like, that's it, and
That's it.
you just have to deal with that like reality. It's like going through a breakup, and they're like, yeah, but I still kind of like message my ex when I'm sad, and you're like, no, like you gotta just switch. You gotta let your brain like deal with your new reality, like accept that you can't accept that there's no way out. Like once your brain
Yeah.
accepts that there's no way out of this new reality, it'll be like, I'm tired of losing, and it'll like start fixing stuff. And I even feel that like my trip to Ghost Town, like I'm still working on getting like my tech skill back and stuff, and like the losses to Zamu and Aura, like they both
Yeah.
kind of made a big deal about it to me afterward, and like it definitely like I feel like I processed it well, but I can tell that subconsciously my brain was still like grr, and like I could tell that when I went to like Verdugo the next day that like my tech skill had improved quite a bit from the tournament, or not the next day, 2 days later. My tech skill had improved quite a bit just from like the feeling that like I didn't want that to feel that way again. And
Oh, wow.
if I had like showed up and really did everything I could to win and been like, I don't know, I'm kind of just like the guy who makes it work. Like I'm kind of just like making it work, and like,
Yeah.
and I had kind of like gone back to some of my stuff or like played in a way that like I don't know, and just tried to like make it work. However, and I think like honestly like it's always difficult to know which one to do, because if I had done that, maybe I would have won like $500 more or something, and I kind of like
Yeah.
want the money and like would have been nice and all this stuff. But like on the other hand, you stick to what you want to do, and your brain, like my brain literally has to adapt to like, you lost to Aura and Zamu, like better get better, and like there's no way out of that. And I think that is what like helps brains adapt, like in or like humans in general, to anything, is like the need to adapt. So you put yourself in a place where you need to adapt, and then adapting is a lot easier than a place where you have an out.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like I've thought about that before, but like I've almost like gaslit myself into thinking that's not the case just to like avoid it, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like convinced myself like no, it's not about putting yourself in a situation where you have to do it. That's silly, because then I don't have to put myself in the situation where I have to do it.
Mm-hmm. Like you
So
just
it's
want to remove the willpower, like the in the moment willpower aspect.
yeah, it's so that like in the moment you have to do it. There's no
Yeah, you just make it so that you're like, that's just it. That's all I can do.
interesting. Okay, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Oh my gosh, this is actually more of a side question, but I was
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of curious. Do you think that like CPAD is like unfair, or do you think it's like whatever for a
Um.
game controller?
Hmm. I don't have like a really deep opinion on it because I've never
Gotcha.
played against someone and been like, you only got that because of CPAD.
Yeah, that
Like
makes sense.
that's never really happened. I do think, um,
I feel like those things should be strayed away from, but that's just
I agree. I think
yeah.
it's kind of dumb. I think that like, because what happens is I'll be like, yeah, but like you can't do angled ASDI, and people will be like, oh, well, there's just like a way that you can like program it to like do the angle you want when you press it, and I'm like, mm-hmm, uh-huh, like I knew there was like a box mentality in there, like you just want to set your coordinates, you don't have to do the thing, and like I think that like,
Yeah.
so like I'm kind of like against it, but also like compared to how broken control stick buttons are, it's just
Oh
like
yeah.
such a different level of like difference that like I feel like it's not particularly like super useful or relevant. Like
Okay.
CPAD is just not like, man, like it's a non-issue despite it probably should be illegal. It's just really not a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's besides the point of what I should be thinking about anyway. Like I keep thinking about it because I need to get a good GameCube controller, and Gooms, the only fobs Gooms has currently are CPAD fobs, so I was like, I could just get this. But I think it's more important that I just
No.
stick to what like I think is
Yeah, no, I don't think the CPAD is that good either. Like
yeah.
it just doesn't feel that good. Like I said, you have access to like less ASDI angles, and just feels like weird.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the question I wanted to ask after that actually is so when you were switching characters, and because I've thought about this a lot, uh, what is like your motivation at the time of switching? Because you mentioned that you'll switch and people will kind of give you flack for switching because like, I don't want to play against X
Mm-hmm.
character of yours or whatever. But what is like what would you say in like your switch to Falco, your switch to Sheik, and then your switch back to Fox was like the primary motivation for sticking to those characters at those individual times?
Mm. Um, I think so. I was having a really good time with Melee right before the pandemic hit with
Hmm.
Fox, and I would have definitely just stuck with Fox for like probably indefinitely if the pandemic didn't happen. But I didn't enjoy entering net play tournaments, and
Yeah,
so
you versus Smash Daddy, Fox Ditto Grand Finals on NetPlay was so funny always, and it just
uh,
happened like multiple times.
I don't even remember that.
Those are so funny
I was
streams.
playing him on net play tournaments. That sounds
Yeah, it was
awful.
old NetPlay. It was old NetPlay tournaments.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds horrible.
It was
Oh yeah, like pre Slippy, right?
yes, it was pretty
Yeah,
slippy.
no, horrifying. I've definitely blocked out the memories.
Yeah.
um, and like I just remember I was watching Magi and being like, she's not edge guarding with the lasers at all.
That's
and I and I just had like a feeling of like, man, I could do that, and like, it'd be fun. And I hadn't played that much Falco before. It was kind of just like
Mhm.
a way to like enjoy the game that wasn't trying to push my skill in like net play tournaments, which I don't particularly like, even with Slippy.
Yeah.
Um, I think the main thing about tournaments that makes them tolerable to me is that like after and between your matches, your friends are there, and like
Yeah.
I just don't enjoy net play tournaments. Like they're not what I'm here for. Um, but anyway, yeah, like I just picked up Falco. I just kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. I like being like I like kind of making challenges for myself or like being really
Hmm.
decisive with stuff just for fun. So like I definitely it was fun to just be like, I feel like I'm enjoying Falco more, and I was like, all right, well, until I'm satisfied, like I'm playing only Falco, and that was just like what I did.
Interesting.
And that was just it was just the same thing I was telling you, like with like the controller thing, is like I just made it so my only interaction with the game for like a year was Falco, and probably more than that, and it was really
Oh
fun.
my god.
And then with the Sheik thing, it was a little bit more complicated because I didn't want to play like only Sheik because like she gets kind
Yeah.
of old after a while. But like I was really enjoying playing her, and I wanted a character for like the matchups I didn't like as much, or at least a character that was more fun in certain matchups. Like I think I like Sheik Pikachu, I like Sheik Marth, like I like those a lot more than like Spaceys
Yeah.
against those characters. And then I was just like, well, kind of do the same process. You just played the character. Like I didn't do it for as long, but I definitely had like 3 weeks or whatever where I only played Sheik, and I go my little like Sheik journeys and play only Sheik for a time. I feel like it like there's like a there's I like to grow in skill and like as a person and stuff, and I really
Hmm.
like that like different situations and like new situations and things that are unfamiliar and stuff like that can like make you grow and learn so much because they're unfamiliar, like by nature of them being like problems that aren't solved yet. You need to like use the problem solving part of your brain and like the like creative part of your brain to be like what might be the solutions to these problems and like really imagine them and stuff like that. And then I feel like that's really different from when you have like 98% of a model filled out and you're like, no man, you gotta hit that up tilt there, like what are you doing, like I feel like they're two like different feelings of like types of learning, of like analyzing your very optimized Fox set where you need to do two things differently versus like I have no idea how to deal with basic move at this range,
Yeah.
with like a new character. And so that's kind of why like I feel like it like the freshness and like kind of like bringing another character up to the same level you're at or whatever is I think good for like growth mentally. It just feels good to me. It feels like I'm like getting more new thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh my gosh, I feel like I started learning Puff so early on into the game that I didn't really feel that with her. But then when I started learning Marth in more recent times, because like I literally put like most of my time into Marth like a week before a tournament because I wanted to play him fully for Falco. And then like
Mm-hmm.
I beat all the Falcos in my region playing
Mm-hmm.
him, and it felt so good
Yeah, it
to
feels
just be
so
like,
fun, right? I love
it
doing
feels
stuff like
so
that.
awesome. Like it felt so great. Oh my god, it definitely was an insane feeling. It it's weird though because for me, because I feel like the character that I am most interested in kind of doing a similar thing to what you did with Falco is definitely Puff, but there's so many things about Puff that I don't like at the same time. So even though I watch like Dawson or Boss or whatever this new Puff Alex play, and there are these things that I'm like, wow, I feel like that's like not very good what this Puff is doing, or like people will like, oh my gosh, there's just so many things about watching Puffs that just make me upset. And while I would like to kind
Oh,
of
I
try
know.
and come up with this,
Me
yeah,
too.
it's so hard to consider applying that sort of mentality that you apply to Falco to Puff because it's like then you have to play Puff Peach, you have to play Puff Marth, you have to play against Falcons that just nair in the corner the whole time, and then ASDI down your backer, and they just go to Legend and resets and loops over and over again. And it's like there are these things that are not very enjoyable about the character that like it's hard to rationalize what it would be like to exclusively interact in the game in a way that like is going to force you to solve those problems, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Like
mean, if you don't
it's
find them enjoyable, I don't think there's like if you don't find them enjoyable even in an abstract sense, you know? Like I feel like with like Chic Fox, like I don't particularly love Chic Fox, but I feel like I
Mhm.
grounded out a decent amount because it's like it's fun is more like an exercise, not like, oh, I can't wait to beat the top foxes with my Chic type of thing.
Yeah.
Um, but I think like I don't know, like if there's really a matchup that I do not want to play, I'm not gonna like I feel like part of the skill of making like these hard rules for yourself and like forcing yourself to adapt is like that's how I feel. I feel like I'm really good at making personal rules for myself and being like,
Uh-huh.
okay, I'm gonna do this for like 6 months, or I'm gonna do this until I want to stop, or I'm gonna do this and stuff like that. And I think like also having the ability to like make exceptions and change your mind and stuff is important. Like once you can fully trust yourself to like make rules, or like once you do fully trust yourself to make rules and like stick to those rules, then like when you really don't feel like doing something, it's really not a big deal to like change it. Because you already like are very secure in the fact that like you're not doing it out of a feeling of like wanting to go back or something. You're just
Yeah.
doing it to like avoid suffering in ways you don't feel like. It's just like it's subtle, but it's like a difference mentally, you know.
Yeah, that does make sense. That's it's funny because I feel like I'm good at making plans, but I'm not good at following up on them. Like there was I've had the thought before of like play Puff, play mostly Puff, and then like
Mm-hmm.
for the matchups you don't like, just play Sheik because like Sheik Falcon's pretty fun, Sheik Peach is pretty fun, and just like and then just stay Puff until like don't think about it in terms of what's great for like results. Just think about it in terms of what matchups are enjoyable,
Yeah, that's
and
what I
it's
do.
like yeah. Uh, but even though I think that's a really good plan, I just feel like because I've had a box fox crutch for so long, I would just always fall back on that. Like I would practice for 2 weeks before a tournament playing only Sheik and Puff, get to the venue solo fox, and just
Okay,
like
yeah,
turn
no,
right
that's
back on.
bad. You gotta practice doing what you plan. I feel like that's like big.
Yeah, I think it might legitimately be my biggest problem is that like I just always fall back on box fox because
So
it's
like,
so broken.
yeah, I can only give you my perspective. That like once I make a rule like that for myself, I feel like the only lose condition for that day is to go back on the thing. So like
Interesting.
for me like that feeling where you don't want to lose in tournament and that like makes you want to go back to the fox. I think you can just kind of rewire that like I'm gonna resist this temptation to like switch to fox because that is what like winning is. Like you should go home at the end of the day being like, yes, I did exactly what I planned. You know,
I see.
like they just need to like change the reward or victory condition.
it'd be so different to live that way because like I literally it's like right now I live in fear of losing, and what saves me from losing is just taking out the cheater controller and picking blocks on the character's like screen. Like literally, it's like the greatest. It's literally like if there was a way to cheat in Melee, it feels like Box Fox is the way to do it, unironically. And it's so hard to escape that because I
Mm-hmm.
get so upset when I lose. But I definitely think that taking a page out of your book, especially because I feel like a lot of other things that you've done have just like helped me out a lot, be it like stealing your game plans or whatever, it works really well
Mm-hmm.
for me, is probably just kind of like the solution I'm looking for, is to just like actually follow up on the plans. Because I think I'm already really good at coming up with plans. I
Mm-hmm.
just, it's just the crutch is there at all times, and it's always really scary to not fall back on.
Yeah, and like, um, it's not always easy, you know? Like, I think sometimes you can just do it on willpower, and sometimes it's literally like, just leave the box at home, you know?
Yeah.
Then you don't have to deal with the problem. Like, and I think that, like, that's part of the planning. Like, part of the planning phase is being like, how sure am I of this? Like, how unshakable am I? You know? And if you're not unshakable, but you wish to be, then you just need to remove the temptations or, like, abilities to do the things, you know?
Interesting.
Because
Yeah, that makes
you're
sense.
like, yeah, like, no more drinking, no more drinking, and you're like, I carry this bottle around everywhere with me, but like, but like, I plan really hard not to drink. You know, it's kind of like
Yeah.
you could just, you know, you could do that, and you could just be like, oh, I'm so cool that I have this bottle of liquor all the time and I never drink. You know, or you can like make it easy for yourself, and they both have the same result that like your brain will look for the bottle and it's not there and you have to deal with it, you know, or like you can't drink out of the bottle type of sticking with the analogy.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I came to this conclusion before. I actually even sold my box
I
before
thought
I
you were
did
just gonna be like, that's actually funny because I am an alcoholic.
no.
I just it was just like
I'm an
what my brain
alcoholic
gave
for
me.
box.
Yeah.
Like, I literally sold my box and then I ended up buying it back. That's how bad it is. That's literally how bad it is. I sold it and I bought it back for what I sold it for. I literally started going to tournaments to what I did is I borrowed a box from a friend to go out and win tournaments to get the money to buy my box back. That's how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Wow.
ended up like $300 in the hole, and I clawed up just to play box. Like it's so ridiculous,
Yeah,
but
no, that is definitely like box alcoholic behavior.
yeah, it
I
is
feel
literally
you. Like that sounds exactly like it.
like
Hmm.
oh my god. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
okay,
so
maybe
silly.
instead of selling your box, you give it to a friend and tell them not to give it back for a while.
That it's fine. You know what? It's fine. I'm actually doing that with one of my
Okay,
boxes.
see, so you got the planning. You just need to be
Yeah,
able
the
to
plan is here.
you need to be able to plan around yourself until you like get used to it enough. Like until you get used to following the plans enough. Like you're like, "Oh, like I always stray from the path, so I need to like create like walls around the path to force me to walk it." But once you get used to walking along the path for a while, the walls aren't as important.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I have a plan in that regard. Is that
Okay, okay, that's good.
I finally have a plan in that regard. I'm gonna give one of my boxes to a friend, and then the other one I'm gonna exchange with another friend for a fob.
Okay.
So, well, and then it's just a matter of sticking to Puff, and like I guess I'll fill in the gap matchups with either Marth or Sheik, and I'll like decide on which one I
Something you
think
could
is more
also
fun.
do is tell your friend, like, hey, no matter what I tell
Yeah.
you, don't give it back for like 6 months. Like, no matter what I say. You know, like something like that. If you really feel like you're just gonna lose and be like, ah, give it back! Ha ha, take that! You know,
Oh
like.
my god. I swear to you, I will do that for
Yeah, so
sure.
that's what I'm saying. You gotta fix those problems ahead of time if you can't trust yourself. Once you can trust yourself, then you're good. But you gotta like, if you can't trust yourself and your brain is kind of used to like going back on stuff like that, you
Mhm.
gotta find ways to like use your support system and like use your planning to like get around it. So like, people are like, oh, like I'm not gonna have this type of food in my house because otherwise I'll eat it.
Yeah.
And then that's then like eventually they're like, okay, now I'm like pretty good about it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, thank you. That gives me. because I think I didn't have this confidence before, because my friends would always tell me like your plans are so stupid, because like I'd make like matchup charts and stuff, and they'd be like, no, this is dumb. You're just gonna play Fox. And I think that kind of steered me in the direction of thinking I was just dumb and that following plans weren't good. When I think the actuality is just that the problem isn't the plans, it's following it on the plans. I think you've done a fantastic job of convincing me that,
Yeah, I also
which
think with like I don't know, other people
they give
are
such bad advice, I swear to God. Like, actually just
it's
terrible
cause
advice.
it's cause humans just see patterns, right? And if you're
Yeah.
like A B A B A B A B C, and then you're like, I'm actually just like the C guy now. Like you guys will see, like I'm kind of gonna do like a C D type of wave, and they're like, okay, like guy who's been A B for like years, you know, and like
Yeah.
that's just like how human brains work, and like eventually, like when you're on the CD wave for a while, and they're like, wow, you really did change, and then you're like CD 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 E, and then you're like, I'm the E guy now. Like people are a little bit more likely to believe that because like they've seen you become like the CD guy from the AB guy.
Oh my God, that's such a useful thought, actually. I've never thought about that.
Because otherwise they're just going off like the patterns they know, and they're like, no, like things that you do, you're probably gonna keep doing because I see you continuing them most of the time. You know?
Yeah. Wow, that is actually a really useful thought. Okay, that I feel way more settled now thinking about the controller switch. So thank you for
Okay,
that very
I'm
much.
glad. That's good.
I think that what I'd like to end with for our last 20 minutes is, would you be down to talk about the Puff and Marth game I put against Aqua?
Yes.
Because I went up massively in as Puff,
You
but
said
then
the
he
Puff
started
or
making huge
Marth
comeback.
game, or
The Puff game first, and if we have time, which we might not, the Marth
okay,
game. But I'd be down to just spend 20 minutes talking about Fox Puff.
okay. Which game is it of the set? Two?
It's game 3.
Oh.
Because I won the Fox Dodo game 1, and then he ran it back in a hard one.
Okay, so it's just when the Dreamland game starts.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Let me screen share you.
Okay, I can see it.
Cool. Let me get it up on my stream. Okay. Is there anything you want me to look for? You want me to just take a look and see what I see, or
I would just be curious for you to kind of like. I feel like whatever my issue is with Puff, because she's such a simple character, it's
Mm-hmm.
very obvious. But I don't know what the obvious issue is. Like, I can't find it myself. It's like there must be a problem that's applying to all my matchups, because my Puff is just inconsistent.
Hmm. I don't really hate anything you've done so far. Okay, now I'm starting to dislike it. I feel like you kind of did this whole first part really well because you were like looking for the up airs and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then you're kind of like, oh, I'm not getting them. It's time to do a bunch of bad back airs. Like you just start like kind of back airing around like those.
Interesting.
And like you already had the good game plan from earlier, but now it's suddenly just become like kind of like a back air fest. I do like your movement though, like the general like way you're moving around.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Like I can tell you're like doing like kind of like aggro motions and stuff like that. Like I think that that's like the most important part of Puff to have basically because like once you can do the aggro, like it's pretty easy to camp as Puff.
Yeah.
So it's like I think the movement's looking pretty good. I like all of like the general choices you're kind of making for the most part. Don't really like these back airs though. It's just once the up air knocks down. Okay, so like I've mentioned this in a couple other Puff lessons, but Puff has like a Martharitis issue against Spaceys.
Yeah.
Where, and I say this all the time, is the goal of both Fox and Falco against Puff is to get to 80%. If they get to like 80 damage, they're just invincible till like 150.
That's what happens actually in this game.
Yeah, they can just literally like tech everything, slide off everything into a side B, if you do like a rising up air, they go too high. If you do a falling up air, they go too high. Like, you just literally have nothing. And so, in my mind, like, Puff has, potential gimps at 0, but not really like rests, especially on this stage. You have like potential like up throw, tech chase, up throw, that type of stuff to like get a kill. But mostly you want to get like 1 hit into side B, which you already do, or 2 hits, or like 20% into up air. And then like there's that little range of like 30s or something where you can kind of get like the up smash, like jab reset type stuff.
Oh yeah, I actually don't even jab reset. You just on box.
Or you just rest. Yeah, depending on like the timing.
Yeah.
But and like percent and stuff like that. But yeah, like that's really good. And then like other than that, like your up air rest at 50 is not better than your up air rest at 30.
That's true. That makes sense.
But Fox, when Fox gets to 80, he is unbeatable. Like the matchup becomes like 100-0. It becomes so horrifyingly bad when Fox is at like 85%.
Yeah, it feels like you have to get lucky once he gets to that percent.
Like you're just throwing out moves and you're like, please, please, and then you finally get one and he just goes to ledge dash, and he's back, and it's just really bad. So you have to think of it as the opposite of like getting damage. Like, when you hit Fox and it's not for the purpose of like getting a rest and you're just adding damage, you're getting him closer to his ideal percent. So it's kind of like 0, you're not happy, you want to get him to like 20-30. Once he's at 20-30, you should just be like exclusively hunting for kill options, and then like maybe there's a spot where you think you can back air him like out of the air here, and you think maybe he'll go off stage and you can kind of do some stuff or something like that. Like there's times where you still might want to back air, or you might want to back air to like defend yourself in a certain position, but they're not ideal because you're literally getting his like your kill options are not getting more prevalent because his percent is going up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And that's just like a big thing in this matchup.
It feels like, I think the reason why I throw out these back airs, it's almost like if he's avoiding the up air, like he's sticking to the ground or something, it's like I don't know what to do. It's like so I just start like literally I just start like face rolling the controller.
Yeah, because that's just like a flaw in the plan, right? Of like, well, I'm gonna hit the up airs, and he's like, okay, I'm not gonna jump, and then you're like, well, I didn't plan for that actually.
Do you think that that like, because oh my gosh, there's this thing now where people are like, yeah, I've heard especially EU Puff players say this, where like, yeah, Puff really should stick to the ground against Fox. I always get really mad when I hear that, because it's like, what does that mean? What is grounded Puff gonna do?
Yeah, no, what?
I know, dude, I get so mad hearing.
It's like nonsense. I do think like a crouching Puff wave dashing around is like very difficult to directly hit, but it's also not like, I think that like what you can do is you can do something like and I think this is like a good mix up that a lot of Puffs don't use enough, is something like Fox, let's say Fox is here and you try to landing up air him, like you think he's gonna be here, so you land with an up air but he's actually here. A lot of times the Fox is going to do some sort of like dash back and then dash in, maybe to dodge the back air and then try to do something. But basically there's a lot of spots where you can just like, oh, I missed my up air, wave dash in, full hop up air.
Oh my, I've seen Toussaint do that.
Yeah. I'm like a big proponent of doing those.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think like that is actually potentially the missing piece of your mix-up, because you're trying to get him to jump, but you're like not threatening wave dash in grab.
Yeah, no, it's like I almost play in those spots like you know how Hacks plays, where he's just like doing stuff in place a lot of the time? I feel like I literally do that, but with Puff. I just like tweak out in place, because like I get so, it's almost like I feel entitled to getting an opening. So I'm just like, I'm gonna push this sequence in place, and he's gonna run into it, and then it's like I'm not putting them in it's like I'm doing the right motions, but I'm not doing them surrounding the idea that he needs to act in a way that's gonna grant them to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that just kind of like limits you to like a certain tier of opening in terms of like quality, I think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can definitely work on that.
Like I would say if you took your same movement but you did more like there's spots where you like move in very aggressively, but if you just did slow fall and then do like fast fall full hop up air, or like more sort of like move in rising up air type plays and like wave dashing in to like scare Fox, I think it might, because like the majority of your movement looks really good and like this up tilt's really good. And so okay, so let's say this spot where you landed right here, but instead of this up tilt working, like let's say Fox dashed a little bit more into the corner, so that like you clearly weren't going to get this up tilt, you could do land wave dash in, and now either like it's very difficult for somebody to like read Puff's wave dash and then hit her out of it because she's so low. And so like there's just positions where like what I should say is I think you're aggressive with your drift, but you're not aggressive with your wave dashes.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I've never thought about that.
And so like by being aggressive with your wave dashes, you force Fox into the air, and that will fix the issue. Or part of it. Oh, you're so good. This Nair was so good. Like, you just waited, boom. Oh, and you could have got you got the grab too. Boom. Oh, you didn't get the...
I tried to hit the cross.
No, how did that hit to the right? That's insane.
I have no idea.
I cannot believe...
It's so funny.
You're just like, what? What? No, that's exactly my feeling. Like, how in the world did that not hit the right direction?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so, like, let's say this spot, and this is a little awkward. I actually like the choice you made here. Like, let's just pretend this spot is slightly different as an example. Is that, like, right here, if instead of this jump in, you wave dashed in, and then you did full hop up air right here.
Oh, that's so smart. I never do that.
Boom, you know, and then he just gets hit. And it's just, like, it suddenly, like, it's just, Puff is like a character with 3 options, and if you're only using 2... then if they just do the one that's missing, then like nothing works, you know?
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Oh my gosh, it feels like if there were just like 3 things my Puff did better, it would just be better than my Fox. Is what it always feels like. And instead, it's like way worse, and it's like that's so stupid.
Yeah, notably when they get to this percent, they are literally invincible.
Yeah.
Because look, you're like, haha, and he's just like. And like that forward throw is like one of the better ones. Like you actually have a shot to kill out of that. Most back airs and stuff, you don't have a shot to kill. And that is exactly what happens. Is the Puff ends up being like, well, I don't know, forward smash, and then it's over. Like that's just like that's how all my sets with like Khalid go and stuff too. I just make sure he gets me to 90, and then I'm just like, what are you gonna do? And eventually he's like, wait, dash forward smash because you'll totally do the bad full hop drill, and I'm like, I didn't. And then that's the end. Okay, let's see. We have a couple minutes left if you have anything else to talk about. But I feel like that was a good, quick analysis. Like, we found, like, a big thing that you can work on in this.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's exactly the sort of thing I was looking for. Things that... I actually went out of my way not to write down questions, because I was like, I was afraid that I would, like, trivialize a lot of the issues I had if I wrote them out instead of focusing on the things. Because I feel like I'm just constantly thinking negative thoughts about Melee. And, to not give into them is pretty important. I feel like sometimes, or what's it called? Not to give into issues that I feel like should be solved, as opposed to ones that are, like, actually bothering me all the time.
I did see something that you said here in, like, even though you didn't ask questions, you wrote, like, some notes.
Yeah, I did write vague.
Did you want to talk about any of those that we haven't talked about yet, or what are your thoughts?
Oh, actually, yeah, there's actually one that comes to mind. I have put time into other games recently. I've played like a bit of Valorant, and I've played some Osu. And whenever I hear people give advice on those games, a lot of times, and this is kind of a belief that I feel like I've almost internalized, they talk about how, like, not specific... Like, basically coaching as a concept is fake, because, like, how you get better is you just kind of play more, if that makes sense. And I found it really hard to kind of, like, remove that belief from how I feel about the game, if that makes sense. Where, like, especially because I haven't really found any success in pursuing other games, it almost feels to me like people that are good are just good inherently, if that makes sense, oftentimes. And I was kind of curious if, like, you've maybe thought about that at all, or if, like, you've struggled with anything similar.
I think people who are good at stuff have a mindset to get good at that thing, And sometimes those mindsets can be like, somebody could be like, oh, I cooked with my dad every day, and then that taught me these random lessons, like when I was growing up, and then like now I'm good at this game because of it. Like it can be like a very unrelated reason that like teaches someone like some like random mental pattern that happens to be really like useful.
I
Um,
see.
so I think we don't have a lot of control over like kind of like where we start out in terms of mental patterns and something. And I think that like the point of coaching is like I know a lot of times is to be like, okay, like what did you do? Like what mentalities or like patterns do you have that are successful? Like talking about like the
Mhm.
coach, and then like it's and this is the tough part about teaching too is that it's on the student to like recognize that like they they are like thinking of it in this way, and so like I need to like find like figure like as the student you have to figure out how to like you have to digest, oh, I see these patterns helped them improve at this thing, like what is the way that I can use my brain to maybe like simulate that or like get closer to that or whatever, or like kind of you have to like look for your own version of it type of thing. But I think like it can kind of give you like a perspective on like what types of things are like successful. I do think that if somebody like people can just have like a naturally good mentality for something and not need coaching, and then somebody else like I don't know, I definitely just like remember like coming in and like playing Smash and like I don't know, like I just didn't have a lot of patterns in my brain that were good for playing the game. Like I remember Mewtwo King being like, yeah man, like I see like combos as like trees where if they do this, I do this. And I remember it like blew my freaking mind in like 2010.
Interesting.
I was like, what? Like tree structures? And I was like going through my brain like, dude, my brain doesn't have trees for combos at all. And like I had to find my own way with that, but like I got the info about like the successful
Yo,
way to look
it's
at
so
combos.
funny because I've always said that I feel like the only reason I got better at Melee was because of your lessons, and like every piece of advice you give me just seems to like work almost
Hey,
flawlessly.
that's hype.
And I've just never had a similar experience with like anything else in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, except actually with because I started going to school, and I think one of the reasons I went to school is because like the programming lessons we had. So it's like, and that's the only other thing that like
Dude,
I've
that's sick.
had
I'm glad that I'm
consistently.
like helping you and stuff. Like that's
Yeah,
hype.
no, like I saying you've been helping me is like an understatement.
Okay, let's go.
So
Let's go. I hopefully
I think
this one helps too.
yeah. Oh, I can assure you it will. Okay, so that like alone answers that question very well. I think that it's not that I hadn't considered that there are like
Mm-hmm.
other factors that contributed. I don't know why. I never would have thought of it in the way that it's like there have been other things that they figured out that like almost subconsciously apply to this thing that they're now finding
Yeah,
success in.
definitely.
That is a really great explanation. Okay,
Okay,
so
sick.
there's one last question I actually want to ask,
Yeah,
and it
you're
was the
good. We have a
final
couple minutes.
question I wanted to ask was if you were talking to somebody who like wanted really badly, I know you said this about Cell before, your student Cell, that if you were talking to somebody who really wanted to become a top player, like and like you're talking to like a little fiction,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say is like the most that little fiction could do to like make that a reality? It's a
Hmm.
very vague question, but I'm kind of curious if you would just kind of personalize it a bit for yourself, what you would tell yourself to please keep in mind while like pursuing that.
Hmm. I think saying that I'm talking like a mini version of myself makes the question way harder. I think
Oh, you
that's
think it makes it harder?
yeah, I think that's too difficult. I think if I was
Okay,
just
you can just
talking
make
to
it
like a
general.
general person who wanted to be a top player, like somebody clearly has like the time and they have the energy and they have there's certain things about the game that are a lot harder to teach, like thinking fast or whatever, like wanting things to be at a fast pace, I should say, like desiring a quick pace for things is something that I
Hmm.
think like some people don't have, and I think that makes this game way 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 harder. But like assuming that somebody has like ideal conditions, I always say that like if if you were trying to raise the reincarnation of Leffen, like and then like as like my ideal like top player of like how to make somebody good or something. But I don't know Leffen too well. It's just like an example. Um, I don't
Well, how
know.
do you kind of characterize that thought of Leffen in your mind? Because it's so funny because a lot of times I've like hard committed to the game. I've literally played like White Fox and just like looked at like the Leffen coaching, the Leffen Metafy stuff, and been
Yeah,
like,
okay, I
make it
think
as simple as
yeah, if
possible.
somebody didn't know how to get better, and that's like the important, like I think basically when I'm imagining like young Leffen, I'm imagining somebody who had the important parts of competition solved in his head,
Mhm.
but not like the in-game stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I guess it's like I think the most important thing would just be that like there's nothing that anybody else can do that you can't do.
Mhm.
Like, if somebody is beating you because of a reason, you could just be better at that thing than them. Like, there's nothing like stopping that from happening. Um, like, I think that like part of the mentality that carries people all the way to the top is that like they're not like working on things to like catch up to people. They're like they'll see somebody do it and they're like, okay, I'm gonna like take that, be better at that, be better at that than them, you know, and
Uh
like
huh.
be like constantly trying to like I don't know. I just feel like there's something very in common about all the top players where like every time they lose, they're like, "Ugh, I couldn't have allowed that one. Like I should have done this there instead, and like I shouldn't have allowed this, and I shouldn't have done that there instead, or I should have done that there instead." And like it's this like commitment to like holding yourself to such a high standard
Mhm.
that I think is like really really important. Like I think like making sure that like and it's tricky because a lot of times top players end up beating themselves up like they take it a little too far. But
Yeah.
I think it comes from a successful mentality of like it is not okay for me to be losing these matches. Why am I losing? And getting kind of like obsessed with like why am I losing? Like which actions in the game. Like I feel like a lot of people at like kind of like mid highish level when they're like watching their games and like they're analyzing if they even do, it's not there's just not the same level of like next time I'm for sure winning this and like looking at every interaction to make sure that you will like win it. Like I've there's just like a level of holding yourself to a high standard and feeling bad about like losing and not just feeling bad about losing the game but feeling bad about every single interaction you have lost and like
Mhm.
feeling bad about every miss and stuff like that that like really drives people to be like actually good. Like I can tell you I hate losing.
Yeah.
When I'm feeling motivated in this game and I lose, I'm like who is this person? Like, what are they? And I will go through their VODs and just be like, no, like, you're not going to get away with this. You only think this because of this. I'm going to hit this on you next time. I'm going to hit this next time. And I come into the set like, it's time. It's your time. And then, you know, if it doesn't work, you're like, still didn't work? Fine. And you go back and you look like, can't be allowing this. Needed to hit this. Gonna do this. And there's this energy to it. And you just keep showing up like that. And most people don't have that energy and they just lose.
Wow, that I have literally never thought about that before. That makes so
Like
much
if people
sense.
don't have that energy, they just can't keep up with that because they're just like, I just go for my stuff, man. And you're like, I dissected your stuff, and I'm actually showing it to make sure I beat it. And I'm gonna crush all your stuff. And like, if they don't adapt every week and they also are kind of really thinking about stuff or whatever,
Hmm.
people get left behind by like the rate of improvement that brings like instantly.
I see.
Every single top player thinks like that, by the way. Like
Oh my god.
there's not like a single exception.
Hmm. I have that is a concept that I've just never like thought to build upon. That makes so much sense though.
Okay, sick.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. This lesson was absolutely phenomenal. I
I agree.
cannot
It was a
express
really good
how happy
talk.
I am
It was
about.
a really good
Yeah,
talk. I enjoyed
yeah.
it a
No,
lot.
thank you so much. I once I'm comfortable again on controller, well again for the first time, I will definitely be back in contact so that we can figure something else out. Thank you so much.
Great, man. Sounds good. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. You too. Thank you again.
No problem. Peace.